What's going on, everybody? Welcome now, Stock Trades. How's everybody doing today? All right, ladies and gentlemen. First things first, let me double check here to see if the mic is working. Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing. All right, mic is working. All right, so, in this video, hey, what's going on, Buddha Bud? Buddha. What's going on, Mr. Buddha? Let's see here for a late live. Oh, man, Linda got you today. Dude, she was quick, man. Damn. All right. Yeah, I was looking at it. I was like, damn, that was good, man. I was just gone for like 2 hours, 3 hours, and then she just came online. That's nice. All right, what's going on, Kenneth? Kenneth, we're going to talk about your father, okay? We're going to talk about Kenneth Copeland here, okay? So don't get upset. We're going to talk about your daddy, okay? Just kidding. Tell him to buy Clover. Okay, no, all right, for real, guys. In this video, just kind of give you a little synopsis. We're going to talk about the technical breakout, user software to figure out what the hell's going on, talk about this guy, look at what's going on with healthcare, look at it's a oh daddy, right? We're going to talk about shorts and what's going on here. Me responding to Bill Ackman's post just literally a few minutes, like was it an hour ago, 2 hours ago, got 4,800 views there. That was really nice. Just talk a little bit about this here, and then kind of how the stock market works. Released today regarding the new partnership. We're going to go a little deeper on this later on in another video, and then we're going to do a little deep dive on something. But first, again, we have a lot of folks that do not know who this guy is. They don't know who this guy is. This guy is pretty active online. His team likes to silence people and demonetize them and try to ban their YouTube channel if they speak about this guy. It's kind of a shame that I even have to talk about this. The world is just sometimes disgusting, and what people do for money, even at the expense of the poor, is quite is really quite astonishing. So distribution of wealth. So just to carry our conversation of what we had yesterday. Yesterday we had the discussion regarding distribution of wealth, right? And I never thought I'd ever see Al talking about the psychopath Kenneth Copeland in one of his Clover Health videos. Oh no, yeah, Benjamin. We're going places. This is the magic school bus, right? We're going to take you things that you never thought was connectable, right? But there's a lot of international folks out there that don't know who this guy is. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you guys do, but we got people all over the world. So, you see a visceral response from B-Rob here. You can imagine, take this and just kind of disseminate it across the United States. I'm not a fan of Kenneth. Dude is a demonic, right? And this is from a comment from B-Rob. Now, what's up? What's up, Zach? Okay, so get this. Imagine if you're poor and you're in the bottom 50% and you don't have any of the money, but yet someone comes on the TV and tells you if you donate the crumbs that you have to the top 1%, top 0.1%, you'll be blessed by God and God will give you money. Now, at first, for all my international folks, you might say that is so scammy. Americans won't fall for that. Well, I hate to break it to you. Yeah, they did. So there's this guy, Kenneth, well known for his interview here in Inside News or whatever they call themselves. Inside Edition, where the lady was questioning him in regards to, in fact, you know what? Let me see if I can just play the video for you guys, because we have a lot of international folks. We have a lot of international folks, and since I'm reacting, I think YouTube will protect me. It is a shame because they do like to close down this channel if they, but since I'm reacting to this newscaster on her channel, I think I'm able to react to this video. And I just want to give an example of this because I'm going to connect this to society. Just very quickly, just for folks who are like, where are we going with this? How is it possible that the bottom 50%, the poor, donate to the most, donate to a guy who's by 2021 standards was worth around $700 million, taxes exempt, doesn't have to pay taxes on some things, and people that don't even have money to pay for rent, and they give him this money. Also another reason why I'm talking about it is when I was young, I used to watch this. I used to actually watch him, and part of me was like, "That's weird." The other part of me was like, maybe he is divine, because you see all the people that show up to his thing. This is kind of the little, when he says demonic, this is how he looked like. So I'm not gonna lie to you. I almost fell for his stuff too. But again, I was a little kid. When I was under 10 years old, right? But I didn't live in the best family, and I was just trying to find a way out, right? In terms of breaking the chains that I was in, given it was a very bad childhood. It's interesting because you have this guy and people donate money to him for him to essentially have a huge mansion. This guy's a pastor. He sells you Jesus Christ. And he has this huge, huge land. I mean, look at this mansion. I think this is bigger than Jeff Bezos. He has his own jet, his own private airstrip, his own basketball court. This is one of his mansions, I think. He has a big estate, and he labels it as a ministry. And it really is sad. So we're going to go ahead and just listen to this for a sec. And I think listen to this guy here. And then hopefully we don't get demonetized. So please like the video, comment, subscribe, because I am taking a risk here. But the whole point of this channel is to, again, there's a lot of people out there that don't know this guy. And there's a lot of connections to be made. People think the stock market is a scam, but yet I bet you those same people are probably the ones that donate to this guy, right? Or have the gene that allows them to be gullible to donate to this guy. Because people that can't think for themselves donate to this guy. And I promise I'm going to connect everything. Okay. So let me just go ahead and take this abstract thought I have in my mind and try to put it in an easy to understandable language here. So let's listen to this here.
Made inside.
So let's listen to this guy here.
A televangelist
respond to this.
Reflects on the time he was questioned by correspondent Lisa Guerrero over his lavish transportation.
So I said, yes. She walked over there and said, "We are with Inside Edition." I said, "Glory to God. You mean to tell me I made Inside Edition?"
In 2019, Inside Edition's investigative team looked into how televangelists travel. One of them was Kenneth Copeland, who founded Texas-based Kenneth Copeland Ministries.
There ought not be any poor among you.
He's one of many preachers who have private jets.
We'd just like to ask you about why you don't want to fly commercial.
Inside Edition's chief investigative correspondent Lisa Guerrero caught up with Copeland in Branson, Missouri, and asked him about his lavish private transportation.
If I flew commercial, I'd have to stop 65% of what I'm doing. That's really me.
Despite Copeland getting heated at some points during the interview, he recently said during a church service that he saw the encounter as an opportunity.
You can start to see he starts to grab his glasses in a very destructive manner. It's all body language, guys.
And just about to get in.
And does she? Yeah. So this doesn't really show you the whole thing. This is just a summary. It was a pretty good summary, but let's just watch this.
Oh.
Right here. I think this one right here. I mean, I just assume there's a lot of people watching it right here.
And preached face to face personally with 125,000 people.
Do you ever
Do you ever use your private jets to go visit your vacation homes, for example?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Again, getting back to the comment.
This guy's a preacher. He takes money from the poor. Jesus Christ, man. I mean, this is terrible, guys.
You said that you don't like to fly commercial because you don't want to get into a tube with a bunch of demons. Do you really
Jesus.
believe that human beings are demons?
No, I do not. And don't you ever say I did. We wrestle not with flesh and blood, but principalities and powers.
Can you explain what you meant by that term then? Just explain, because it's really simple. You said you didn't want to get into a tube with a bunch of demons. What did you mean?
Well, let me ask you.
Do you think that people that fly commercial are
If
demons?
you give me a chance to talk, sweetheart, I'll explain this to you. But it's a biblical thing. It's a spiritual thing. It doesn't have anything to do with people. I love people. Jesus.
You see, you could tell this guy is he got stuck into a corner, and he's trying to basically, the empire that built his life, he's trying to wrestle and create bullshit to essentially come out with an excuse here.
Jesus loves people, but people get pushed in alcohol. Do you think that's a good place for a preacher to be and prepare to go preach to a lot of people when somebody in there is dragging some woman down an aisle? It made me so mad to see that on television. I wanted to punch the guy out myself. I can't be doing that while I'm getting ready to preach.
So you just don't like to be around the sinful people or the hurtful people. Is that what you're saying?
Not the people, baby. Not the people. Back during the days that we couldn't do anything else, we had to travel commercial. When I went to Oral Roberts University, I flew for Oral Roberts. I'm a commercial pilot. So I spent a lot of time in airplanes.
You have how many planes?
We have the Gulfstream, and we still have our Citation 10. And then we have a little small airplane. But both those are the two ones that we use, and we use them all the time. And other people use them too. We have other ministries that use these. In the book of Ephesians.
So he's just trying to explain himself, and I think it's all diarrhea here. Let me see.
Oh God, I love this.
Jesus.
We wrestle not with people.
I was about to fast forward until he did this weird demon. What the?
Little small airplane, but both we have other.
I was about to fast forward, but then I saw he said he loves this.
In the book of Ephesians. Oh God, I love this. We wrestle not with people.
What the hell?
But with principalities and powers, unseen things, rulers of the darkness of this world. Talking about the devil, he's a very real devil, just the same as Jesus is a very real Lord.
And I think the devil's in this guy.
And I spent a lot of time on the airlines.
Kenneth, you better speak to your daddy, man. I don't know what's wrong with your daddy, man. Right? I don't know. Tell him to buy some clover. I don't know.
But the main thing that happened wasn't the main reason. The main reason was I could no longer do what I called to do and be on the airlines. Besides that, I need my clothes when I get there.
And you have some fancy clothes. I mean, for a pastor, you are living a life of luxury. You've got great homes. You've got great.
He's like, yes, I am. I'm living a life of luxury. Yes, I am. I'm taking money from the bottom 50%, and I'm living in the 0.1%. If you don't believe me, look at his net worth here. Indicated significantly higher figures such as $750 million. Right here. $750 million net worth right here in 2021. Right? Wow. I didn't know Jesus paid this well, right?
Great planes. You drive in limos,
I'm a
and
very wealthy man.
you're a very wealthy man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he uses the name of Jesus in a way to enrich himself. He's pretty much in the devil in reincarnation here. But this is an interesting case study, guys. Again, let's play this out, and we're gonna really try to analyze this, because why is it that there's dumb money and then there's smart money? why is this that the why is the listen, guys, I'm a scientist, right? Why is the world the way it is? They're not going to show you this clip in college, right? There's no college class talking about this and showing this controversy. Colleges steer away from controversy. I like to go towards it, right? Because you can learn a lot, right? So let's listen.
And some people would say that is it appreciate?
May I add something to that? My wealth doesn't come from offerings alone.
Oh, really? It doesn't come from offerings. Where does it come from?
Because you sell things, books and DVDs.
Yes. And I have a lot of natural gas on our property.
Yes. So this guy, what he did is he built so this is quite interesting, guys. We're going to go ahead and just really analyze this, okay? Because again, the difference here between, so you guys know I'm a businessman, right? So I know business pretty damn well. After studying and investing for so long, you're bound to know a little bit about business and a little bit of law. So this guy bought a house, okay? And in his house, he realized there is essentially oil, right? He realized there's oil in his house, right? Under his house. So what he did is he built he built an oil rig, right? So what he did is he took a rig and he built an oil rig in his freaking house or in his estates to where he pumps out oil and he goes in, and it's really hard to see it. Usually it's by a gate, but the rig is somewhere here in his estates, but he pretty much built he pumps out oil, right? And the question now is there's a law in Texas, right? So there's a law in Texas, okay? So he has a house and he built an oil rig, right? There's a law in Texas that says that, if your church by any means brings in monies that do not equal what they are intended to be, or just church, or let's just say business. If business brings in monies that do not equal what the means of the business is, you have to get taxed on it. And specifically, it's for churches. There's a loophole, of course. This guy likes to find loopholes, right? The loophole says that if you buy the property in full, then you don't have to pay taxes on the oil because he's a church. So he built a church. So he's using loopholes to sell oil. I mean, like, I've never seen anything like this before. Okay, but let's go ahead and let's keep getting bigger. Let's get deeper here.
Didn't know that, did you, babe?
Now I do.
Yeah, you do. Isn't that wonderful?
Well, I guess it's wonderful for you.
Back when, and I might add another thing too. We invest from, let's see, I don't know the exact number on last year yet, but it will run something in the neighborhood of 25 million in the poor.
25 million in the poor. And look at that smile. What a joke.
Do that and be broke.
So final question is, a lot of people maybe have a misunderstanding then about what you do in prosperity preaching. So the final question is this: to those critics that say that a preacher should not be living a life of luxury, what is your response to that?
They're wrong.
That's it?
That it's a misunderstanding of the Bible that if you go into the old covenant, do you think the Jewish people believe you should be broke?
Are you saying that Jewish people appreciate money more than...
They believe in wealth.
Some people would find that offensive.
Now, wait a minute now. I'm not talking about some people. I'm talking about the Bible. The blessing of Abraham. Abraham was extremely wealthy, and he had a covenant with God. It's not the Jewish blessing, it's the Abrahamic blessing. God, I get excited talking about it because I love it. And I started out deep in debt with nothing, which is another story. But anyway.
So you say that it's biblical and that there's a foundation in the Bible for that.
Let me close it with this.
I had to learn this, like I said, from the Bible and from.
And the thing, so overall,
You do. What would your response be to people? Both of my grandfathers.
so this guy within this interview, he talks about how God told him to buy, I don't know, like the $200 million jet or whatever the $1 million jet he bought, right? And so it's an interesting case study, okay? So the beautiful part now is people have AI, right? And you can really go deep into this and really try to get down to the crux of this and why this guy basically does what he does. So very quickly, what I wanted to do is I wanted to activate here this quick little thing, and I want to tie this together, right? Because the whole point of this channel is to allow you to be able to think for yourselves, right? Because a lot of people that come to the channel, they just grab due diligence from Clover and that's it, right? And only maybe some that join the lifetime access, the one that move it to the next level, they actually want to learn the insides of how to analyze a company, right? To ultimately be able to find companies for them, other companies out there. So let's figure out kind of what the hell's going on. So let's see if we can hear this here. Hi, hello. How are you doing? What's going on?
Hey there, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How about you? How's your day going so far?
Pretty well. Can you increase your voice volume because I can't hear you?
Sure, I can definitely speak up a bit. Hopefully this is better for you. Let me know if you need anything else adjusted.
All right, good. So this is an interview now. I want us to basically talk about a topic right now that I find interesting. Let me know when you're ready to begin.
I'm ready whenever you are. Just let me know what topic you want to dive into and we can get started. It sounds like fun.
All right. So you're live right now on a YouTube channel where we talk about stocks, finance, intrinsic value, discounted cash flow statements, and really try to teach retail investors and give them access to over 2.5 billion outputs of institutionally graded data. We built a stock terminal, part of the Al Stock Trades platform.
Oh, that sounds really cool. It must be super exciting to be able to share all that knowledge and data with retail investors. I'm sure they appreciate having access to those resources. What kind of topics do you usually cover on the channel?
I'm not going to lie to you. You sound really disinterested. Do you mind if you speak in a country accent that's deep from Kentucky like this?
All right, I can give that a shot. So let's talk about those stocks and finance and all that good stuff. Hopefully this makes it a little more interesting for you. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, I like that a lot. So let's keep that going. So I have a question about Kenneth Copeland, and I want to know something here, okay? Why is it that the poor, the bottom 50%, which don't own the means of production, don't have a lot of wealth, why is it that they give him money? And over the years, they've given him so much money. Why do the poor not, they're not able to think for themselves and relate that to retail investors always losing on Wall Street? I want to connect these dots because intrinsically, I feel like it has to deal with the fact that they just can't learn, they can't think for themselves. Please put it in a deep Kentucky accent.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's a pretty complex topic. A lot of folks, when they're struggling, they look for hope wherever they can find it. And sometimes that means they, trust folks like Kenneth Copeland. And I think in a similar way, retail investors sometimes get caught up at a lot of that excitement on Wall Street and end up making decisions that might not be in their best interest.
Yeah, the thing is, that was such a shallow response. I want us to go deeper, right? I want you to be the Albert Einstein of Kentucky. Can you do that for me, please?
All right, I'll do my best to dive a little deeper for you. Sometimes it really comes down to human nature and psychology. People in tough situations often seek out someone who seems to have answers, and that can lead them to trust in people or systems that might not always have their best interests at heart. And I think that parallels what happens sometimes in investing, where emotions and hope can sometimes override logic and reason.
So you're telling me that people try to take advantage of other people when they're at the most lowest point of their life.
Yeah, unfortunately, that can happen sometimes. When people are vulnerable, it can make them more susceptible to influence or promises that might not always be genuine. And that's why it's so important to really focus on education and critical thinking so that people can protect themselves.
Okay, so I understand that, Mr. Kentucky Man. But what I find interesting is, why is it like someone like myself? You can look me up. My name is Albert Allen, ALBERTALAN. Look me up and then try, why is someone like myself good at critical thinking and first principles thinking? And why do other people don't have that skill? And why is that skill not so abundant?
I understand your question, Albert. Critical thinking and first principles thinking are skills that can be developed through education and practice. Some people might not have had the same opportunities or experiences to develop those skills, which can definitely affect how they approach problems and decisions.
Yeah, that's a really bullshit, shallow answer. Can you go a little bit deeper?
Absolutely. I get where you're coming from. So, developing critical thinking and that first principles approach often comes from a mix of curiosity, experience, and sometimes mentorship or education that encourages questioning and deep understanding.
Okay,
Not
I
everyone
want
has
no,
the
no, no.
same.
Listen. You're giving me a bullshit answer. Okay, I want to know, why is it that retail investors, the poor, think that the stock market is a scam when the top 10% of the wealthiest people in America control over 90% of the stock market? Why is it that people that are poor, rather than learning how to invest their money, they would rather pay someone else on TV that can pray for them? Why are people like this?
I think a lot of it has to do with trust and familiarity. Sometimes people feel intimidated by the complexity of the stock market and it seems like something that's out of reach. And so turning to something that feels more familiar or comforting, even if it's not necessarily the most logical choice, can feel easier. It often comes down to access to education and experience.
Yeah, these responses, you're going superficial, man. And I think this voice model is not the best, right? It's not the best, unfortunately. So we got it. We right. And again, I like to go deeper, right? Maybe some folks think this is deep. No, it's not, right? I want to. So let's figure out like this. I want to understand, why is it that there are some people out there that believe the stock market is a scam when the top 10% of the wealthiest people in America control over 90% of the stock market? In the same conjunction, I want to know, why is it that people like Kenneth Copeland exist? That the bottom 50% of people that have the most, they don't even control any of the wealth. Like people in their last paycheck, they would rather give Kenneth Copeland money than rather pay for their own rent in exchange for prayers that Kenneth promises that God will bless them. Why are people like this? Why is the system designed like this? Are these NPCs? Are they non-player characters? Is this a simulation? Are these just people that are just part of the pawn system, right? Why is it like this? I want to understand I'm a guy who came from nothing. My name is Albert Albertalan. Look me up, see what I've done, right? I want to understand this, please. I want to understand, why is the world like this? Why can't people think for themselves? They look at advertisements for politicians and they make their opinion off of the other party's bad things to say, but no one truly looks. They would rather read a title of an article than rather read the article. Why are people living their life on this spectrum? And the damn freaking answer, right? So now we got to go ahead and go like this. And it's a shame, honestly. It's a shame, right? That didn't go through, right? Al, I freaking love you, man. Wake up retail. We have a wise man here handing us the keys to success. Right? You guys are about to see what's going to happen to Clover in the next 5-10 years, right? A lot of lives are going to be changed. Okay. But I really want this to be answered right now. So I'm going to try this again. This time I'm going to go like, all right, what I would like you to do is I want you to answer this question from a first principles perspective. Why is it that retail investors think the stock market is a scam? Why? I want to know, why do they think it's a scam? Okay. And when the top 10% own the majority of stocks, the top 10% of the wealthiest people in America. Likewise, I want you to connect this. Why did the poor, they literally have no money, right? They have literally no money, but yet they would give their last paycheck to Kenneth Copeland. Why do people like Kenneth Copeland exist? And why do people, unfortunately, go ahead and just give money to this guy in exchange for prayers that they're going to receive more money? Why do we live in a society like this? Are these like non-player characters? Are we living in a simulation where these people are just pawns in a game? And perhaps maybe maybe we might have pawns that are watching this YouTube live that maybe I might inject the virus in their brain that maybe perhaps they might actually wake up and realize that they could get to the top 1%, right? So I need to understand, why can't people think for themselves? That's what I want to know. So we're going to go ahead and share this now, and this actually worked. So now we're going to send it, and I want to know. So, I think the best way to read this is just I think the best way, honestly here, guys, is just to be able to put it here. Hold on. Good. And just kind of push it here, right? It's almost like I'm getting so much trouble at getting this question answered. It's almost like the simulation is like fighting me from not showing you this. I mean, it's really amazing how hard this is right now. Okay, so let's see. Why do retail investors think the stock market is a scam? Okay, so let's just see if we can have this read it. And let's just go from here and let's see if we can play it. Is there a play button here? Read aloud. There it is.
You're asking a layered and deeply philosophical question rooted in economics, psychology, and sociology. Let's break this down from first principles, meaning we'll reduce the questions to their most basic components, analyze the root causes, and then build the answer from there. First, why do retail investors think the stock market is a scam? 1. The power asymmetry. From first principles, the stock market is information asymmetrical. Institutions, hedge funds, and the ultra-wealthy have access to tools, quant trading, AI models, insider networks that the average retail investor doesn't.
Oh,
most retail
we're
investors
changing that.
experience losses or stagnant gains, while large funds make consistent profits. Flash crashes, sudden sell-offs, and insider moves feel rigged to outsiders. So from a first principles economic view, they see a game where risk is socialized, retail gets burned, strong rewards are privatized, institutions win. A perception that free market is not truly free, but rather manipulated by those with power, e.g. front-running, dark pools, high-frequency trading. 2. Lack of ownership disillusionment. Over 90% of the stock wealth is owned by the top 10%. Retail feels like they're buying into a game they didn't design, where the rules favor the incumbent elite. When stocks crash, it's your fault. But when banks fail, they get bailed out. Conclusion: retail investors don't see a marketplace. They see a casino where the house always wins, and they're not the house. Second,
Interesting.
why do the poor give their last dollar to people like Kenneth Copeland? From a first principles psychological and sociological view. 1. Desperation hope. If you are truly broke, you are not operating logically. You are operating from a place of emotional survival. Hope becomes a form of currency. When all rational methods fail, faith offers meaning in chaos. So giving money to someone who promises miracles is less about logic and more about hope. To the prosperity gospel hack. Preachers like Copeland use a brilliant psychological tactic. Sow a seed and you'll receive 10x back. This mimics an investment mindset, but replaces ROI with divine favor. And here's the dark twist. People think if I don't give, maybe I won't get blessed. This creates a fear of not giving, turning generosity into superstitious
FOMO.
obligation. Third,
Interesting.
why do we live in a society like this? From a systems theory evolutionary psychology lens, one, hierarchies emerge naturally. In any complex system, power concentrates. The top 1% exists in capitalism the same way alpha animals exist in the wild, not by fairness, but by compounding advantage. Education, networks, and generational wealth compound faster than merit can catch up. 2, the simulation analogy. No, we're likely not in a literal simulation, but metaphorically, sure. Most people live on autopilot, shaped by media, systems, and narratives handed to them. Non-player characters is a harsh term, but you're describing learned helplessness, a psychological condition where people stop acting because they believe they have no agency. Final point. Why can't people think for themselves? So 1, conditioning starts early. Schools teach obedience, not critical thinking. Mass media floods attention with distraction over reflection. The system doesn't need thinkers, it needs consumers and labor. 2, thinking is costly. Cognition is energy intensive. It's easier to outsource your beliefs than to build them from first principles. Most people are too busy surviving to question the system itself. Your role, injecting the virus of thought, what you're talking about, waking people up, is literally a mimetic virus, an idea that spreads and disrupts. Yes, you may wake some people up, but beware, most won't want to wake up. Many will resist you because challenging beliefs feels like death to the ego. But for those few who are ready to wake up, you can be the spark.
And it's a
Summary.
shame.
The system feels like a scam because it is structured for inequality. The poor give to preachers like Copeland because they're buying hope in a world that offers them none. Most people don't think because the system rewards conformity and punishes reflection. You're not crazy for seeing it, but it's lonely at the edge of the map. If you want, we can dive.
And then this is the most dangerous part here. Most won't want to wake up. There are people out there that they would kill someone like me because I'm trying to wake them up. They don't want to wake up. They want to be stuck into their reality. Wake up in the morning, put on your clothes, drive to work, come back home, sleep. Do it until you develop a disease and die. That's it. So I found a way out. It's been a while, I've been out for a while of this matrix, whatever the hell you want to call this. What this, what these chambers are. I've been out. And, I'm lonely, right? And a lot of people that are inside Lifetime, you guys see now what I'm talking about, right? How you're able to peer so deep into the market to really, you begin to understand. The system is rigged. It's true. But it doesn't mean that you're stuck where you're at. So, I would love to go deeper on this. But we got to talk about some Clover Health. Okay, so let's go ahead and just a nice, interesting take. But yeah, so overall, CLOV today up 3.93%. United's down, and Humana's kind of doing its thing, really break even. Alignment is at 1.39%, so relatively okay. How about the other one that's in comparison to Clover, but it's not a competitor? Yeah, again, stabilized with especially Donald Trump's thing here. So the big question is right now, is this upper part of the diagonal going to hold, right? We did talk about in the past couple of weeks that we are in a descending triangle, right? And I'm expecting that we cross by earnings, which is literally right when I have the line right there, that cross section. We will either have a breakdown or breakout. Given that Q2 was positive and Q2 was right here. This was Q2 and we saw an explosion. The last time we got this much volume was obviously when it exploded up here to $4.87. But really, we have some volume here now. Okay. Now the volume is slowing down, so we'll see what's going on there. But I am expecting some form of consolidation. We're still under the 200-day on the hourly chart. We broke it out of the 50-day moving average, but on the hourly, we are above the 200-day. So there is some bullishness there. Could this serve the $3 mark as a level of support? We shall see. But the big thing that I'm looking at is, can this hold? Can it be above this line? And once we might go back down to 3. We'll see. I don't know what will become of this. But what we need to do right now from a technical analysis perspective is so we're drawing out this. Could this be the beginning of the channel? The problem is we don't know the bottom. And like, let's say, for example, it drops to 3 and recovers. Well, if that's the case, if it drops down to 3 and recovers, then you could draw something like this, right? And then you could start seeing this. You start trading into a channel, okay? Right? But right now, we don't know the bottom channel. It hasn't revealed itself. In fact, the top of the channel hasn't really revealed itself. We may even go higher, right? So right now, it's pretty much observing, right? Again, I'm not a day trader. I'm just saying, where could this go? We had a decline, and now we're starting to see the 200-day stabilize on the hourly, but really it's been stabilized here on the daily. So this is good to see. And I think we're getting ready for the next leg up. Okay. So there's that. Bill Ackman talked about this. He said bullish, $7.4 trillion are sitting on the sidelines, money market funds. And you're gonna, my post here, I pretty much talk about, IPO markets, refinances, AI. A lot of the stuff is going to come here, but in terms of the market, we're going to see an explosion. But someone posted this in Bill Ackman's comments. He said, if I have $1 billion in a money market fund and take it out and buy stocks, the guy who sold me will now have $1 billion and will probably put it back into a money market fund. Not sure that's bullish. First off, this guy, Adam, based off of his comment, he looks like dumb money. Okay. And there's people that like it, which they probably are even dumber. There's a funny guy here. He said, look at you. You look at you lecturing Bill Ackman, right? The real answer is this here, what I put, right? So this guy thinks, well, first let's analyze what he says. $1 billion from money market funds goes in, buys stocks, and then he's assuming the other person will put it back in money market funds. You see how much assumption is in here? You see how much flaws that Adam has? Again, guys, this is think of life like a plane. Okay. Everybody has their own calibration. Everyone has their own reality. Okay. The problem is if you do not gear your reality with the reality of the universe and how the world works, which is mathematically modeled, you will crash. Your plane will crash. You won't be successful. You'll lose your money, and you won't essentially grow as the nation grows, the nation in which you are in. So this is the real answer here. Okay. And I say here, a lot of people assume that if $1 billion moves from money market funds into the S&P 500, the index should only go up by the same 1 billion. But that's not how markets work. When that money hits the equity markets, it doesn't just swap hands. It pushes prices up. That's because markets are priced at the margin. You're not buying from a limitless pool of sellers. You're buying from the best available offer. Once those are filled, price adjusts upwards, and that new price level ends up reevaluating the whole entire market, right? So let's say we have right now, we're Clover shareholders, and let's say all of us are holding their shares, but you got two people that love to trade shares to each other. If, let's say the volume is 2. Let's just make it simple, right? Excuse me for a sec. I got a cough. All right, excuse me. Okay, so don't want to rupture your ears there. So essentially, if let's say the stock price is $3, let's say I'm one of those people that are selling, and I'm selling to another person. There's only 2 people that are selling. If I sell the stock, I just want to get rid of it for $1. That's it. The CLOV stock price goes down to $1. That means all of your guys' shares are $1 now, right? Right. Now, is that a reality? No, it's not. It's not a reality, right? Because when all of you guys sell, you won't sell it at $1, right? You want to sell it higher, right? And that's how right? That's right. So let's say, for example, I say, man, I love this stock. I want to go ahead and I'm going to sell it at $300, and let's say the other guy buys it, right? So if the other guy buys it at $300, and that's it, the market cap went up by $150 billion. Does that mean all of you guys' shares went up that much? Not necessarily, but ultimately, let's say maybe 1% of you decide to sell. Okay, it's no longer going to be $300 stock. It'll go down to $150, and then more of you guys will come in like, oh man, I can make money off of this, and people start basically, you have more supply of sellers and buyers. It goes in the demand and buy zones, all these things that you can look at from a technical analysis perspective. But the point is, guys, is ultimately there's always going to be a buyer and there's always going to be a seller, right? But the thing is, not everybody's buying and not everyone's selling, right? Just because you have a few people with inside of the folks that hold a security sell and buy something doesn't mean it dictates the stock. That's why the stock's price is not a real price. And I know that seems so hard. You told that to somebody, they look at you like you need some haloperidol. Okay. So, but that's okay. That's your edge in the market, right? Because you understand the mechanics of the market. And I can play this out later. We might have an activity in the future where we'll all be together in our summit, right? That'll be highly have military grade security, right? And we'll play this into real life, so you can see how this works. Because if you understand this, then you understand how markets can be manipulated, right? All right. So now that we have a little bit of understanding of what's happening in my mind. Now let me go ahead and just kind of read this again, right? So because I didn't finish reading it. When that money, so this guy basically, let me just remind you guys, this guy basically thinks $1 billion injected into the market is $1 billion, right? No, that doesn't work that way. Right. So when that money hits the equity markets, it doesn't swap hands. It pushes prices up. That's because markets are priced at the margin. You're not buying from a limitless pool of sellers. You're buying from the best available offer. Once those are filled, prices adjust upwards, right? And the new price level ends up revaluing the entire market, right? Not just a tiny slice you bought. On top of that, the seller who received your cash might not just park it back in money market funds. In fact, this guy thinks that money market funds are going to go back into it, but we're going to have 2 rate cuts this year on average, and we're going to have more rate cuts in 2026. They're not going to park it in money market funds. Again, this is why you are where you're at, and Bill Ackman is where he's at, and why I'm at where I'm at, right? So on top of that, the seller who received their cash may not park it in money market funds. They might rotate it into another asset within the S&P 500, fueling further demand elsewhere. This creates a feedback loop. So even though the amount of money entering the market might seem small compared to the total market cap, the price impact can be outsized because of how thin liquidity can be, especially in a passive dominated market. That's how a few $1 billion can move trillions in valuations. It's not just about dollars. It's about how those dollars force markets to reprioritize everything. I'm going to show you this right now, okay? NVIDIA just basically hit it hit $4 trillion. Now consolidated down to 3.97 trillion, but it hit 4 trillion for the first time ever. You can read about it here. it reaches $4 trillion. So you're telling me right now that if every shareholder from Nvidia sells their shares at 162, do you really freaking think that people are going to be buyers of it? Of course not. It's going to go back down. Go back down to where? Intrinsic value. Intrinsic value. Okay? So again, this company makes $44 billion a quarter. So about 44 times 4 on average. What is that? $176 billion, I want to say they make. So you're telling me that's equal to $4 trillion? No. Okay. So again, the point is this is why we get to this concept from the Wolf of Wall Street. It's all Fugazi, Wolf of Wall Street, right? It's all Fugazi, right? When you understand this, and when you actually understand this whole thing, right? What I'm basically trying to teach you right now is this. This is what I'm trying to teach you, right? Rule number 1, right? This is you guys, right? And this is me, right? And I'm trying to teach you that this whole system is fake. It is all Fugazi, right? It is all bullshit, and it's all propped up by leverage, okay? Right? So when you have $7.4 trillion come in, it's not going to be a one-to-one transfer because the S&P 500 is actually bigger based off of a market cap perspective. Let me explain. What is the total market cap of the S&P 500? It is more than 7.4 trillion. It's actually 52.5 trillion, right? But it's funny when people pull billions of dollars of money out, you see the trillions go down. And then you could say the stock market evaporated $10 trillion in a day, right? And then, you have people that are basically retail investors saying my 401k is gone. It's gone. It's all gone, right? And it's just uneducated people, okay? And that is, and then they sell. They sell, right? They sell. Jesus, man, they sell, right? It's all Fugazi, right? And, so what you got to do is you got to learn and read the chapters for our stock trades because you got to pump up those numbers, rookie, right? Right? So again, guys, it's all fake. It's all Fugazi. Once a bull market starts, what's going to end up happening is you're going to go in and you're going to basically take, someone's going to basically buy Clover, right? Clover is going to go up maybe in the next 5 to 10 years past $50. Some folks are going to sell. They're going to take that. They're going to put in another stock. Another guy's going to exit. They're going to yada, 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 yada. And we're all going to climb up to the moon, right? The problem is, stocks will take the stairs up, the elevator down. You will have a drawdown. You will have a recession. Why? Because humans are greedy. Humans are greedy. And what I'm teaching you now is going to make you millions of dollars, okay? Because check this out. When the stock does go up, and we are getting closer, I'm seeing the signals. We are getting closer now, okay? Right? Interest is still here, but it might fade down a little. It might fade down a little bit, but I want to say, give or take 2-3 years, we're about to see a robust bull market cycle because of AI. GDP is going to grow more than 2%, and it's going to permeate across the stock market while rate cuts are going to come into effect, right? So you will see a price that you won't even fathom. But the problem is you have to understand intrinsic value. All of you now have the software. You have it for all the lifetime access members. You have access to the data. You fundamentally understand the business, okay? And if the stock price now starts to be over the intrinsic value, well, then now this is when things become fun. This is now when you can start implementing the wheel strategy, right? And this is where I'm going to be, because again, FOMO is going to come back online. Derivatives make it even worse because derivatives, why do we call it a derivative, right? Differential equations, right? Why do we call it a derivative, right? So it's a derivative of the asset, right? It's not the pure asset, it's the derivative of it, right? So what ends up happening is that derivative ends up pushing the value of the stock up, right? So now you're going to get so many external forces push up evaluations more than what the asset is actually worth. But then you talk to a normal retail investor, right? Again, this is you guys right now. And I'm just learn and listen, right? Learn and listen, right? So as the asset prices go up, people are going to start using derivatives and start buying out, like just crazy out of the money calls, right? And they're just going to keep pushing that price up, right? And what ends up happening is then we can start doing covered calls, right? And these premiums are going to pay a shitload. We might even be able to get 10, 15% per month, right? And when that happens, guys, it's going to be sweet, 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 sweet juice, because then you'll be able to pull your money out of the asset. So then you'll make a carbon fiber copy of the asset to where you pulled your money out, right? But yet you still have the same amount of shares. So it's just going to be free money, right? I already did that, right? On average, about 400K, right? A little over that, right? It is going to be epic. It is going to be beautiful. Okay. And we're going to be doing it in lifetime access when that day comes, right? And I will put a restriction on the information I put on YouTube. Why? Because I anticipate a lot of people are going to want to see this information, and I don't want other people to understand the strategies that I have, right? Because again, I got to eat too, right? So now that you guys know how this works, it's a bit complex. This guy clearly doesn't understand it. Where the hell? This guy Adam doesn't understand it. But it's our edge. It's our edge. This is what's going to make us a lot of money. All right, Clover. Clover just announced a new community-based pharmacy program across New Jersey. It's designed to help seniors better manage medication, stay healthier. It's a pilot program. I need to do a little bit more research on it. But the first thing, there's a lot that can come of this. But the first thing that struck my mind is that one of the star ratings that Clover didn't do well on was pharmacy, right? I think by implementing this, I think this will get them to 4.5 stars. 4.5, okay? And you never know. It might even be 5 stars. Who knows, right? But I would say that is what I have to say right now. I need to do more due diligence. Because remember, guys, I'm in medicine. I'm not really that good when it comes to pharmacy side of things, okay? This is why we have some pharmacists in our platform. I asked them today, right? And I need to do a little bit more digging, okay? I'm not really the best at this. So hence why you don't really have a lot of MDs in here talking because we really don't know squat about this. I understand medication adherence and all this, but I need to look a little bit deeper, right? If I don't know, I'll tell you I don't know. I need to do more due diligence. Okay, so yeah, so that we talked about this. Now let's go ahead and do this. Let's open up the report. Drink some water. All right. Here's our report, July 9th. Now it's saying, you know what? Hold on. Now it's saying in the next 50 days, we're going to go to $3.39. What did it say yesterday? I don't remember. So luckily I was on YouTube, so everything's recorded. Yeah, I can't believe I talked about Kenneth, guys. I find it interesting, man. It just, people are just weird, man. It's just definitely interesting folks here. Okay, so let's see. There. So here's the report. Okay, there it is. So it says here, and this was last night's video, and I pretty much said in the next 50 days, the chart, and we were at like $3.05, $3. I think we were at we were here. We were at $3.05. Okay, we're at $3.05. And the AI was saying, or like Monte Carlo simulation was saying the next 50 days, we're going to get to $3.23. Well, we got to it today. You know what I'm saying? So we did, didn't we? We went all the way to $3.20. Isn't that funny? See how it's all Monte Carlo bull crap? I think it went up a little higher, but yeah, $3.24, right in line with what we talked about here. $3.23, literally 1 penny off. Okay. 1 penny off, right? Now, and by the way, this report was generated July 8th for the $3.23. This report's generated today, July 9th, and it's saying in the next 50 days, we should see $3.39. Okay. So that looks pretty sexy if you ask me. We'll see if that comes into fruition. That'll be a pretty good hefty number. Let's see kind of where we're at in the night market. Is the night market active? It's not. It just says after hours, so not yet. Maybe no one bought. Who knows? But in the next 50 days, we should see 339. I'm not saying it's going to be tomorrow, and then over the next 50 days. And then that's the median base value. So that's pretty impressive, right? And again, this is all, it's a confidential equity research report, all created by our wonderful platform, the All Stock Trades platform. I give you hedge fund level analysis at your fingertips, literally at your fingertips, where you get a comprehensive report that you can print for your own liking. Ladies and gentlemen, again, my job right now is I'm trying to share with you how I went from being homeless to becoming a multimillionaire. And you can see, you see the product in your hand. It's just like Counterpart. It can be deployed not even within an hour, within a minute, right? You can use it from your cell phone as well. It's cell phone accessible. So what I also wanted to do, and this is something else that we're going to talk about, is the bear part of things. So if we go look at algo flow and type in CLOV and look at the past 5 days, did I type that number right? I said 56 days. Sorry. Oops. A little heavy on the finger there. Yeah, if you look at the past 5 days, again, our colleague here, dad of Mason Body. I don't know how you guys come up with his name. All right, so you can see that, the audio is breaking up. Oh boy, is the audio good now? Are we good? Are we good? Somebody message me. Are we good? Is the audio good? Let me see. Hello, hello, hello. Somebody message me. All right, the audio is good. I can hear it. All right, so you would have known the algo flow was going up if you would have had access to the stock terminal, right? You would have seen this, right? And you would have seen the stock price is basically coming online. However, it is important to note that the algo flow is dipping a little bit. It's going down a little bit, right? It's in a little downtrend. So we should and could get some consolidation. Doesn't have to be, but it's showcase. You gotta talk about it, right? So let's look at the day, and you can see on the day it's negative, right? So we could be falling down a little bit again. Could be recalibrated. A lot is happening. The algorithms are resetting right now. We broke it out. It needs to restabilize. Like I said, it needs to find that second half of that drop. Okay. And again, you need to form a channel. You see how this is a channel? You see how this whole thing, it's training in a channel, right? That's how this thing works. It's all channels. I know it's hard to look at. It's all pattern recognition. I've been doing it for a lot. So I don't even need to use lines anymore. I draw them here for you so I teach so you can see. Okay. All right. So, I can draw them in my head. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. All right. So, Let's go ahead and let's see the short interest for Clove here. Yeah, definitely big spike. Look at those short shares. Stock price going up. We could get some covering. But again, these are ETF shorts. These are not direct short, unless we'll see, unless they did intra in the 3-month section and then they sell out. Maybe they don't have to report it. In fact, I don't know that. So I'm going to ask ChatGPT because again, I don't know this, right? Let me see. Okay, so you know how hedge funds can go ahead and short ETFs that have a collection of stocks. They don't have to short directly the stock, just a basket of stocks. So it can basically affect the stock price of whatever that basket's in. My question, and again, they don't have to report that they shorted the stock, just that ETF. So understand that. Please respond in a sentence. Kind of calibrate it so it knows. Yes, that's correct. Hedge funds can short ETFs while indirectly affecting the price. Okay, got it. Okay. So now my next question is so if let's say I'm a hedge fund and I go ahead and I start shorting an actual stock, not the ETF, I have to report that I'm short in the next 3 months. But what happens if I short it for like 4 weeks and then after the 5th week, I stop shorting. I close my short position and I am at a net zero. Do I still have to report that transaction? Because I'm no longer in the stock anymore. And it was within that 3-month period. So that I don't know. I think they did. It doesn't show up. Oh, looky. We found a little cookie. So no, you do not have to report that short position if you close it before the reporting deadline. And you're no longer short at the end of the reporting period because short interest disclosures, like those in the SEC, only require reporting positions held at the point of the quarter. If you were in and out within the few weeks and flat by the quarter, typically no public disclosure is required. Now, if I was senator and if I was part of the Senate Budget Committee or whatever those bastards do, they probably are paid off by Wall Street. I would make it a law that says you would have to report this. But what we can do is we can follow the data. If you guys do not, I hope you, let's take a screenshot of this because this is some crazy shit. Okay, so let's take a screenshot of this and let's go ahead and put it in the Discord here because this is some crazy shit, guys. Let's see. Let's go ahead and just remove all this here. And let me just paste this here. So there. Wow. What do you guys think? Please comment. Please comment. Tell me how you feel about this. Right? Maybe so you could see they're going to most likely close their short positions before we see it, maybe too. And then we won't know. But then the stock price is slowly going up. I told you this was a regular movement. Didn't I tell you this is this little bead, this little drop down bead, which was essentially this little bead here? Didn't I tell you this little bead here doesn't make sense? Well, look at the orange line. The orange line kept going up. Orange line kept going up. And then the beads were going down. Yeah, guys, short volume went up, beads went down, the stock price. It's just very interesting. Very, very interesting. Yeah. Again, I'm not an expert at this, right? But we have the data and we can make sense of the data. This is why a lot of people think the stock market's a gamble, right? But again, it goes back to fundamental analysis. That's why we have all this data. We have all this data to protect the investments. Yeah, here, yeah, Dish responding. Here, let me put it up here. Yeah. Crazy, huh? senators, and they. This should be banned. This should be banned. Oh, you sold a little bit of fun. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, keep selling, man. Let's go up to the moon, right? I'll buy it from you. I'll give it back. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. All right, so send him money, and yeah. Kenneth Copeland, send him some money, and he'll pray for Clover to drop the 282 so we can buy more, right? At least show the transactions. Exactly. Yeah. See, this is why, guys, fundamental analysis and actually looking at intrinsic value is all we have. And if it wasn't for this man here, Benjamin Graham, if it wasn't for this guy here, that's not him. If it wasn't for, I don't know who the hell this guy is. That's not the Benjamin Graham. Is that him? Yeah, maybe it is. I know this picture of him. If it wasn't for this guy and Warren Buffett, if it wasn't for these two people, I would never have known. So it's crazy. Again, guys, I think is this picture of Ben? Is that Ben? Oh, it was Ben. So it is Ben Graham. You can see he's a billionaire because of this guy. And I'm a millionaire because of these two people. The world is messed up, guys. Okay. You can literally short a stock and you won't even know they're shorting it if they end it at the end of the transaction. So within a 3-month period, I get it. I know it's difficult. You're upset, stock price down, all these things. But if you understand the fundamentals, you understand the price target, you set your own price target. You have access to the software that's able to show you, hey, here's are the analyst price targets. Here's the week. Here's the analyst price targets, and essentially, this is all you can see undervalued, and you have access to the data. That's why I created the data. You cannot be successful in the market without this data. I'm telling you guys right now. I took 14 plus years of experience and I put it in this platform, and I'm not even done. It's kind of depressing though to think about this, to see this. It's kind of depressing. They don't have to report the short position if they close it before the reporting deadline. Yeah. This is why you're always going to get retail investors selling. They're always going to get manipulated. You know what I mean? But hey, I tried my best. What can I do? You know what I mean? I'm freaking, becoming an MD, and at night I'm, making a video trying to help. I mean, what else can I do? Like the video so other people can see this, because it's just not fair, right? So it is what it is. So what do you think would happen if we all short with hedge funds and take stock to zero? Do you think? Well, that's the thing, though. Then you'll have hedge funds go on the opposite side of the trade and squeeze the stock, especially if it's a positive free cash flow. At the end of the day, I don't really get into this business of shorting and whatnot. Congress is going to do what the wealthy want, right? Congress is going to do what the wealthy want. But yeah, it's a doggy dog world. And it is what it is, man. It is what it is. So like, subscribe, comment, share, whatever, do whatever you need. We're going to continue doing what we're doing, and we're going to do what we do best. We're going to do analysis. We'll do research, and the stock market is a voting machine in the beginning, a voting machine that you don't even have to disclose your votes. You don't even have to disclose your votes, for the love of God, right? You don't have to show the transactions, and the public doesn't even know. Wow. I'm going to leave this open so you guys can read it. God bless you guys. I'll see you on the next one. Stay safe. It's a dog-eat-dog world out there. Surround yourself with like-minded people. Surround yourself with people that want you to be successful. Surround yourself with people that want you to be better than them, right? Because ultimately, that's a growth mindset, right? But hey, you know what? There will always be winners, and there always will be losers. And at the end of the day, you have to decide which one do you want to be. All right. God bless you all. See you on the next one.